Sandaun to be next special economic zone. Hundreds turn out for Queen's birthday bicycle race. And an historical first in world politics.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Tuesday's news. Sepik Province is to become the next special economic zone in the country. National Planning Minister Richard Maru announced this at the construction of a new international wharf. He said the government has allocated 15 million kina for the first phase of the wharf's construction. The wharf will also be an offloading port for ships entering the country.
Day 2 of the fact-finding mission led by the Planning Minister involved a road trip up to Bewani in the Vanimo Green Electorate. There, the delegation was briefed of the current project operation and also toured the newly built mill. The mill is ready for use, however, there is no proper storage facility at the Vanimo Wharf. The mill manager says it will need about 10 hectares of land to host a facility for storage and export to the world market.
So we need, here we are asking that the government representative here today, we hope you can assist us in any way possible. So that is the plight that we have here currently with infrastructure.
The Planning Minister says developer Bewani Oil Palm Plantation is, among other investors and stakeholders who will benefit in the new international wharf planned by the government.
In terms of the wharf, our government has appropriated 15 million in the budget for 2018. Transport Department should by next week or following week we should have a tender awarded for a company that will do the feasibility study and design the new wharf in Vanimo. Not the coastal wharf, the international wharf.
He says the government's plan is to open a market and trade with neighboring Asian countries.
We are also hoping that the Vanimo port will also become an unloading port for the country as well. Right now all the ships coming from Asia have to go all the way to Leh. They don't need to do that, they can come in transit out of Vanimo. So we're going to have to look at space for containers to be unloaded here. So this will be a very significant project for our country, and I want to assure the Bewani Oil Palm project that the government will take into account your requirements and ensure it's catered for in the design of the new wharf that we are going to build, hopefully next year.
A similar approach is also planned for a new wharf for East Sepik Province. Jaglapav Junior National EMTV News, Vanimo.
Meanwhile, Chairman of Bewani Integrated Landowner Groups, Bob Nama, has urged the oil palm developer to invest and build proper houses for landowners. Speaking during the visit of the state delegation to Bewani, Mr. Nama says the current building materials will not last for the next 5 years. He expressed his disappointment, saying some houses have already begun deteriorating.
The housing project was one of the benefits signed between landowners and developer Bewani Oil Palm Development Limited. Sumumini is the second from the 3 housing project sites. Mr. Nama says the building materials used are falling apart and want the conditions of the houses improved.
You mean in the house, I must have 50 years, 60 years. 5 years, 3 years. Suppose you mean, because in one value I come. This is the house now you look at. I'm lifespan room about 5 years.
It's been 10 years since the oil palm company entered into agreement with landowners and planted oil palm. The first housing project was at Imbio. Over 50 houses were built and have been occupied. The ILG chairman says landowners deserve a better housing scheme and the developer must make changes.
We learn time. Unless all the people partner can build them all house like Quilla. Maybe I must want them all. Concept of good plan. Me like all must improve. Now putting proper permanent building housing scheme to line of place.
A company representative says building materials have been a struggle for the developer, but says the company is considered building proper houses with better materials.
The material is not so good. When we try to make the housing, yes, we have some problem. So now with this Sumumini area, we start to improve. You can see the post there, we are using the pipe.
National Planning Minister Richard Maru and other state ministers were given a tour of the housing scheme project at Sumumini. Minister Maru says the government is not part of the agreement signed, but says there are other ways of addressing the concerns.
The project agreement you played work, we don't want them to stay. We only sign a project agreement to meet a long time. So issues you need to sit down with the investor now, sort it out, and I encourage the investor. You need to honor your agreement because otherwise you're going to cause a problem.
Jack Lapava, Junior, National EMTV News, Vanimo.
Wapenamanda police in Enga province have confiscated 10 kilograms of marijuana at a police roadblock. The suspect, an elderly man, was travelling on a PMV bus to Wabeg from Wapenamanda when police apprehended him. He jumped out of the window and escaped and is still on the run. Police say the suspect would have made up to 3,000 kina with what he was carrying. Police in the Wapenamanda area have conducted awareness to have no drugs and homebrew within the area. More roadblocks and raids will be conducted to clamp down on the smuggling of drugs and homebrew. The Eastern Highlands Provincial Government has signed a 100 million kina water supply project with COVAC. The water supply project in Komifa Goroka will not only supply water to 3 districts in the province, but also generate electricity.
Also, the same company, COVAC, this is an international company owned by the Chinese government, reputable companies, and Nibla signing agreement finished, and water supply project of 100 million kina. It's the water supply along Goroka and by assisting Goroka town water issue Yumisagate and by Sisim Olgata Isla problem.
For those who lived in Goroka town, water supply issues would sound all too familiar. Provincial Governor Peter Numu says that will cease and the water pressure will be able to cater for 2 other districts.
And by go as far as completing all Goroka town, the water pressure can go as far as Asaro to the bottom of Ungai Mountains to Korofegu and down further to Bena side. So it will more or less benefit 3 districts.
Not only will it provide clean drinking water, it will also generate electricity.
So we will generate electricity from that project, and then we'll sell it to PNG Power to in case of blackouts. We'll make arrangement with PNG Power and we'll sell our power as part of our income generation. As I said, it's the economic recovery plan. Investment also to bring more money into the province.
The provincial government recently approved a recovery plan for the province to look for ways to generate income, and the 100 million kina water supply is a part of the recovery plan. Adelaide Xerox Kari, National EMTV News.
Oil Search and its joint venture partner Kumul Petroleum have announced successful tests for gas at Kimu 2 in PRL 8. PRL 8 is located between Western and Gulf provinces and about 80 kilometers south of Lake Kutubu. Kimu 2 was spud on April the 22nd, with drilling reaching a total depth of 1,943 meters on the 20th of May. With data from Kimu 2, work is now underway to assess options for the potential commercialization of this field. Gulf Governor Chris Haiveta accompanied officials from KPH and Oil Search to the Kimu site where the gas was flared. He thanked Oil Search Limited as the operator of the well for inviting him to the site to witness the test. Governor Haiveta has assured developers that the Gulf Provincial Government stands ready to assist in providing a conducive environment for more oil and gas development both on and offshore. Puma Energy has now introduced its lubricants range to the PNG market. Puma Lubricants is now being marketed in partnership with Dunlop PNG. Today, a team from Puma Energy was on hand to provide advice to motorists at Dunlop's Gordon's outlet in Port Moresby. The entry by Puma into the lubricant market in NCD follows similar establishments in Alotau and Kimbe. Following the launch in Port Moresby, a training seminar is being organized for tradesmen. To coincide with the launch in Port Moresby, both Puma and Dunlop have announced specials for PMV operators this week with discounted prices throughout their range. Madang will be the next centre to have Puma's lubricant products rolled out. This is National EMTV News. We go for our first break now, but still ahead, Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu and his stance on Facebook, and an interesting story from Scott Waide about a man who rebuilds Land Cruisers in Lae. Stay tuned for those stories and more. Welcome back to National MTV News. The community near the Nawai High School outside of Leh has handed over a prime suspect in the murder of a policeman attached with the Morabit Rural Command. The policeman was stabbed whilst attending to a complaint in the area last week. Community leaders conducted a citizen's arrest and brought in the suspect this afternoon. Nawai MP Kennedy Wenge expressed his apologies to the family of the policeman and the RPNGC.
I will sit down one time and good story. Mi bla kama bla what consola come look mi bla mi bla doctor one time goli mem mi bla come look simu na mi at one bell na surrender
mi at mi ka people suri street do this la police mi gusim lifelong ali sabara pa kilimem long district mi plaga bikla sore that is the same sore mi gusim golong Papa Mary Pigini Blom later then police. CID Blom rural police Blom.
Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu looks to be the first Parliament leader to deactivate from social media platform Facebook following Parliament debates on the Minister of Communication and Technology's suggestion to shut down Facebook for a month. Governor Numu also raised the issue in Parliament on Facebook and who was responsible for what many MPs say are clear instances of defamation of character by users. His deactivation and comments in Parliament have come with a lot of criticism. MTV News was in Goroka recently and asked the Governor on his stance on the social media platform.
For your kindness, for your direction.
In the last Parliament sitting, Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu said this in Parliament.
Where can we draw the line of negligence or duty of care to hold either the state or the Facebook company accountable? Is it lies with the Facebook company or the state? That's my first question. Can you just advise this government as the principal legal advisor to the government, if we cannot fix this, can we totally ban Facebook because it does not fit into our government systems, our laws and regulations, and our society at large?
The Minister for Justice responded saying while the Constitution did provide for freedom of speech, it also has protections of rights.
The same Constitution that gives the right or the freedom of speech also gives the right and the expectation of other citizens to the full protection of the law.
The question sparked debates on Facebook on the governor's stand. While the governor is one of the youngest parliamentarians, the perception among many users was that he would defend Facebook as he is an active parliamentarian on the social media platform. Governor Numu said while Facebook has its benefit in keeping people accountable, he is questioning whether or not there are laws in place here in Papua New Guinea where a user can seek compensation from.
It rests with the company, Facebook company, or the state. So I asked the minister if there is a possibility to fix this, to protect the rights of the people, the rights to the protection of law, and the rights to the freedom of speech. Let us make something to fix it.
On the issue of deactivation, the governor wants the government to ensure that his rights on Facebook can be protected by the government of the day before he reactivates.
For the time being, I have to have my Facebook account deactivated. I have to have my SIM card registered. And I'm waiting for the government. If they can fix this problem, then I'll go online on Facebook. If they cannot fix this problem,
the protections of right is defined from the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, requiring that state guarantees the same right, privileges and protections to all citizens. The doctrine reinforces that of due process of law and prevents the state from passing or enforcing laws that might subjectively discriminate against anyone.
And these rights are qualified rights, meaning that as long as you are not affecting the rights of other people. Let's say if I have the protection to the law, my rights needs to be protected. And no one also has the right to, infringe on my rights.
But the question of how the governor expects to keep in touch with the majority of the youths of Eastern Highlands who use Facebook to bring their concerns across, the governor said his office is always open.
And if one warrior got newspaper stuff, province got newspaper, come na put him concern play plug. My office is open. All can come.
Adelaide Sirax-Kari, National EMTV News.
Last week, we brought you the story of Simon Lucas, a Lae businessman who is owed about 60,000 kina by the Lae City Council. Mr. Lucas runs a small automotive parts shop in Lae City. While doing the story, we also found that he also rebuilds Land Cruisers for a living. This is slowly becoming an income stream for him, with no shortage of customers willing to pay up to 80,000 kina for a rebuilt vehicle.
Simon Lucas stumbled upon this revenue earner some years ago after starting his spare parts business in Lae in 2009.
In PNG, also next time it's start high markets.
Battling the impacts of a difficult economy and unpaid invoices by the Lae City Council, Mr. Lucas has since focused on rebuilding the vehicle that Papua New Guineans love, the Land Cruiser.
Me looking more some building more Land Cruiser, building more car, especially Land Cruiser in style market with PNG. So, and by one blow way, me like an generation or income loan is so me started going to building on Land Cruisers.
In recent years, Simon Lucas has had to contend with new challenges. Predominantly Chinese-owned spare parts operators selling cheaper versions of Land Cruiser parts have made selling Australian-sourced parts very difficult, and this has left him with an oversupply of Land Cruiser parts. So he came up with the idea of using the parts to rebuild Land Cruisers that could not be repaired anymore.
The gearboxes, the engine, I'm all main something, the diffs, front rear diffs, I'm all main something, we must make sure I'm alright, the customer, make it some kind of, these are the main things.
The parts of this single cab came from two different Land Cruisers that were involved in separate accidents. His team brought in a new engine and gearbox from Australia, then rebuilt it.
We got this cabin, like some cabin, now by transferring organ or something, building back outside, working on spray painting or something. Now I'm come completion blind now.
This is now going to be sold to a buyer for 70,000 kina. Simon Lucas says there's an ever-present demand for Land Cruisers, and each rebuilt Land Cruiser has been pre-sold before completion. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lae.
Popular gospel band PTUIF recently hosted a dinner to celebrate a new beginning. The band has been in existence since its formation in 1992. Lead singer and songwriter Peter Bogembo and band members including Ben Hakalitz and Joshua Tamanabai will have a final show towards the end of the year. Godwin Heki reports.
In the 90s, PTUIF came up.
Partners Together, United in Faith, or PTUIF, after 24 years of sharing the gospel through their songs, will begin a new chapter in Cairns, Australia. On the night to celebrate their 24th anniversary, the band played and dedicated their all-time favourite songs to the people who grew old and wiser with their music. With the event being their first fundraising drive in December and one they promised to be memorable, lead singer and songwriter Peter Bogembo says sharing the gospel since the beginning was a path they wanted to pursue into the future.
In year 2000, when we released the album called Time to Fly, we actually had a very massive offer from Virgin Records in Melbourne. They came personally and they met with myself and our manager, Mr. Edric Ogomeni, and they gave us a nearly 7-figure contract deal. And the condition of the contract was that we should take Jesus and God out of the song. So they were calling it, "Can you do the soft gospel?" Since we follow Jesus, we have been singing about him publicly, and for this, are we able to trade it? And I think that's one time we just had to say no.
He thanked everyone who enjoyed and followed PTUIF and says the band will continue to share and create spiritual tunes. Other band members say it was their fate which brought them together in the beginning, and their move to Australia is God's will. They say the band will continue to write songs and inspire people.
After all these years, it felt like we still have a lot of energy to keep going for another 25 years. If time allows and if God allows us to continue to move like that. But it's been a great and wonderful experience. I think our 25th anniversary is celebrating a shifting of where we are looking at the moment. And this is for us as musicians and as a band.
The band will record its next lot of songs in Australia to reach out to the international scene with their music. The song will be recorded in their own studio, Winepress Studios, set up in Cairns, but will host their final concert in Port Moresby before the band moves to Australia with their families. Godwin Eki, National MTV News.
Another journalist who passed away recently will be farewelled tomorrow in Port Moresby. Ben Margin, who graduated in 1974, was a staff at the then Office of Information before venturing into mainstream media in the early 80s with the Times PNG and New Guinea News, which is now the national newspaper. He also worked with ministers including the late Sir William Skate. Skate went on to form the PNC party and eventually became the Prime Minister. In Margin's later years, he joined the RPNGC as a Reserve Chief Sergeant. He died in Alatau, aged 63. His funeral service will be held tomorrow at the Manus Evangelical Church at Waigani at 10 a.m. He is survived by his wife, Shirley Baptiste Margin, children and grandchildren. The 6th Go-Go Cola bicycle race in East New Britain Province yesterday was a success. More than 200 cyclists from different age groups took part in the community event to commemorate the Queen's birthday celebrations. Competitors turned up in large numbers, but only a few made it through to the finish line.
The Go-Go Cola bicycle race is one of the big community events in the East New Britain's provincial events calendar that happened on every Queen's birthday. And yesterday it happened again.
This year because through commitment, managing time, for the commitment of training, we were helpful. That's why this year.
Riders came as early as 6 in the morning in preparation for the start, and they came from all over East New Britain Province to put their skills of cycling to test. Men, women and children battled in their respective categories for the top spot to win prizes. While the children and junior category took on the shortest distances, it was the senior men and women category that was the most enduring of all. By 9 a.m. the race began at the Kokopo's Callabon Oval and the riders cycled through the center of town. Traffic came to a standstill for at least 2 hours as they made their way through the main Kokopo-Rabaul road. By midday, the first lot of bicycles arrived in Rabaul. Dominic Canit was the first to reach the finish line at the Rabaul Hotel.
Training at last day. This low race last day training in now race.
The Go-Go Cola bicycle race is not new to East New Britain Province. Over the last 5 years, the Rabaul specific industry has organized the event after realizing that there weren't any major celebrations held to celebrate the Queen's birthday. The organizers hopes to make next year's event a much bigger and better one. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
This is National MTV News. When we come back, the historic meeting between US President Donald Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un in Singapore. Stay tuned for the details. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, it's been a long day, nearly 4.5 hours, and US President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un have spent it together. They've eaten together, walked around the grounds together, and it was all about building trust and a relationship. Here's how this extraordinary day played out.
It was the moment most thought impossible. Two completely different worlds bridged by a 12-second handshake. The American leader appearing to take charge, his arm reinforcing his famously firm grip, becoming all but an embrace. Trump, the superpower president, towering over the reclusive Kim Jong-un. Then a hand across Kim's back, ushering him along a walkway to their meeting room. They appear to chat cautiously, carefully, before a smile breaks out on Kim Jong-un's face. The warmest moment yet.
I feel really great. We're going to have a great discussion, and I think tremendous success. We will have a terrific relationship, I have no doubt.
Kim nodding in agreement, his reply coming through as translator.
Well, it was not easy to get here. The past worked as fetters on our limbs. The old prejudices and practices worked as obstacles on our way forward, but we overcame all of them and we are here today.
Both leaders talking the summit up. More signs of warmth before the media were moved out, ahead of the pair's first ever one-on-one talks, just translators in tow. The Korean leader spent the eve of the talks out sightseeing. Hardly intimate, he was surrounded by bodyguards, even a night on the town for this most isolated leader of the world's most isolated nation is without precedent. Kim stopping for a selfie with Singapore's foreign minister, but it was the business going on behind closed doors that the world was waiting to hear about. Kim and Trump emerging after 45 minutes.
Mr. President, how's it going so far, sir?
Very good.
What do you think?
Very, very good. Excellent relationship. Thank you.
With one-on-ones over, it was time for the leaders' officials to weigh in.
Thank you.
The issues at stake: nuclear weapons, sanctions, a peace treaty after decades of tension and suspicion. After a working lunch, a relaxed Trump and Kim took a stroll towards the cameras. The once unlikely friends revelling in the history of the moment.
We had a really fantastic meeting. A lot of progress, really very positive. I think better than anybody could have expected. Top of the line, really good.
And an agreement that months ago seemed impossible.
We had a historic meeting and decided to leave the past behind, and we are about to sign a historic document.
Now inked in Singapore.
One of the summit victories for Kim Jong-un is simply standing on the same stage as the President of the United States. And he got that chance after a brutal reign as a dictator, which included killing his uncle and half-brother. Here's a look at Kim Jong-un's background.
He is the 36-year-old leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, though his official birth date has never been confirmed. His grandfather was North Korea's founder, known as the Great Leader. And his father, Kim Jong-il, assumed power when his grandfather died, known for the way he dressed, his platform shoes, and known for his pursuit of nuclear weapons. And when his father died of a heart attack at 70 from what the North Koreans said was overwork, it was his youngest son, Kim Jong-un, who would take over. Kim Jong-un has proven to be ruthless. He has now tested more missiles than his father and grandfather combined. He's conducted 4 nuclear tests. Just last September, he tested what was believed to be a hydrogen bomb, much larger than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. And as North Korea's leader, he has now demonstrated he is willing to kill to keep his power, publicly arresting and then executing his own uncle, once a trusted advisor, but he feared his uncle was planning a coup. It's believed he was also behind the assassination of his own half-brother, once thought to be the original heir to the Kim dynasty. There is little known about Kim Jong-un's personal life. Educated in Switzerland as a boy, he loves Western movies, basketball, Michael Jordan. He later became friends with Dennis Rodman. He is married, it is believed he has 3 children, and his wife is now more of a public figure in North Korea. In a rare change, she is now called Respected First Lady. And just this year, Kim Jong-un and his unexpected olive branch to South Korea, meeting with President Moon. At the DMZ, it was Kim Jong-un who suggested South Korea's leader should walk into the north. And then he did the same.
Back home now, and regulatory authorities in Leh met last month and are planning to conduct a combined inspection on business operations in the city. This follows a case that was reported by the public in March of illegal operations by a foreign company. The director for Leh City Council Health Division, Jonathan Ipang, said the public have lodged complaints which will be addressed immediately.
On the 28th of March, a foreign company in Leh was told to cease operations by the building board after inspection, following reports from the public regarding alleged illegal operations. The building plan that was submitted by the landlord was constructed to be a shop. The building was rented to the foreign company, trading as J. Hera Enterprises, who are now operating a club, lodge, food bar and liquor shop. According to the senior building inspector, Boni Tangara, the building was given 4 different licenses by Leh local level government to operate in the same building without consulting the building board.
Now I see it is that they have gone bypass building board approval because the other authorities who are supposed to give the approval to operate this has not gone through building board yet.
The Leh City Council Health Division Director, Jonathan Ipang, said the approving authorities met 2 weeks ago to address this issue.
Combined inspection will comprise of the health department, building board, building inspectors, fire, police, lands and physical planning rep, water board, to do a combined inspection for that particular premises. Yes, in fact, there is public complaint now has been lodged, and we need to address this very seriously.
In April, the Leh City Council's Health Division closed a sausage factory operating near a residential area at 2 Mile in Leh. A family reported the pollution into a waterway near their residence to Leh City Council in 2014, but nothing was done. After raising the same concern on media several times, the Health Division conducted a 3rd inspection and closed the factory. Mr. Ipang said the public has also lodged other complaints related to breaches of health regulations by various businesses in the city.
I'm appealing to the public that, in the event they have any complaints regarding health, like food, complaints and all this, please report to this office and we will always assist. Like cooked food, you think that it's not fit for human consumption, you will always report to this office. Secondly, like we don't have any vehicles to move around and get complaints and all this, so we are inviting publics to come with their complaints to the office so that we will work together to attend those complaints.
Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Leh.
To Mount Hagen now, and expectant mothers at the Mount Hagen General Hospital will now sleep comfortably on beds awaiting delivery. Western Highlands Provincial Health Authority recently purchased 8 new electronic delivery beds for its labour ward at a cost of 88,000 kina. Sister in charge Susan Kolopu said this has made the delivery process a lot easier for mothers as well as nurses. The electronic beds can be adjusted for mothers to easily get on, as features including headrests. The new beds can also be folded to make room for portable delivery trolleys at the hospital. Patricia Tai is one of the contractors waiting to be paid by the Leh City Council. She is owed more than 40,000 kina for garbage clearance jobs at the second 7 dumps. She has been doing this for the past 4 years but has not been paid for 2 years. The young mother says it's been a real struggle raising kids under these circumstances. They have often had to move, and her children have also been kicked out of school.
Life has been a struggle for this single mother of 3 for the past 2 years. Patricia Tai and her children now live here after being evicted from their old house due to arrears she couldn't pay because of her delayed payments from the Leh City Council.
These are the most, things where being a mom, looking for kids below me, moving out from places to places now. Trying to afford him everyday living. It's kind of a challenge for me.
Patricia has been doing dump clearance work for the Leh City Council at the second 7 dump since 2014.
The contractors will work up a male, but I am thankful that me want a female, me can get him this challenge, clear him this second 7 dump.
Since she started, payments have often been delayed. For the past 2 years, she has not been paid and is owed 47,800 kina.
And I'm still waiting. I don't know when I'm time by I'll straighten me plahab so I could get my children back to classes.
For these 2 years, she has been doing odd jobs to provide for her children. Her children were also kicked out from school because of non-payment of fees. This has also affected her relationship with her youngest daughter.
And now I'm losing all get the hopes blamed on me.
With her kids being her priority, Patricia is still waiting to be given her outstanding payment of 47,800 kina so she could provide for her children. Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
Yeah, with National EMTV News, 2 more days to the Football World Cup in Russia. We'll preview that in Trukai Sports when we return. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Football World Cup starts this week and 32 teams participating are starting to arrive in Russia. Monday saw the likes of Brazil as well as Mexico and Switzerland touch down. Brazil, the 5-time world champions of course, are perennial favourites.
Currently holding the record for the best overall performance at the World Cup with 70 victories in 104 matches, perennial favourites the Brazilian national soccer team arrived at their World Cup base in the Russian city of Sochi on Monday. The 5-time champions will go up against Switzerland on June 17th for their opening Group E match. Meanwhile, Portugal are confident about taking on rival Spain with star forward Cristiano Ronaldo, who missed the first week of training and the friendlies against Tunisia and Belgium after playing for Real Madrid in the Champions League final. But never mind that, he is expected to be available for his country's first match in Group B against their Iberian neighbours. The FIFA World Cup 2018 official fan zone opened on Sunday at Sparrow Hills in Moscow, located near the State University, and despite unusually cold and rainy weather, there was a huge turnout. Authorities say they are confident attention from all over the world will be good for the recognition of the Moscow State University. Traditional musical instruments, yorshkas or spoons, will be banging out a beat across the 11 host cities from Kaliningrad to Yekaterinburg. So Russian fans will be stirring up their childhood skills to spoon out a clattering reception for foreign players and fans. The tournament begins on June 14 in Moscow and hosts Russia will face Saudi Arabia at the Luzhniki Stadium. Helen Sea, EMTV World Sports.
And football fanatics will be pleased that EMTV will broadcast the FIFA World Cup in Russia beginning this Friday, with the details to be made in the coming days. Football Ferns coach Andreas Heraf has today fronted the media, apologizing for the comment he describes as the biggest misunderstanding following the 3-1 loss to Japan, where he said the women's side would never be able to compete against the top nations. 2 days later, he's retracted that and now says they can.
Andreas Heraf admitting he got it wrong. Do you regret what happened on Sunday?
No, I can't regret it. I apologize maybe for that comment of not being able to compete with the best teams.
Heraf created uproar over his negative tactics against Japan at the weekend. That gave the Football Ferns little opportunity to show just how they do stack up against the world number 11 side. But he's adamant his approach is necessary for their future success.
Maybe we'll never have the technical skills like a Japanese team or like a Brazilian team, which is not a shame, but I'm still convinced that we will compete and can beat teams like them on the world stage.
Heraf says they need to have 3 components to achieve that: the best tactics, be one of the fittest teams and have a strong culture. But it's the culture that's been questioned, especially when their tactic goes against all our Kiwi sporting instincts.
We will show that style to win. That's what we're working for. So I'm not working not to lose, I'm working to win.
While the Austrian believes he has the backing of his team, former Ferns skipper Katie Duncan is urging him to resign, while others question how he even got here.
How did we end up with Andreas? And, you know, like, if I'm pointing the bone, who am I pointing that at and who's responsible for that?
Overnight, former captain Abby Ursig making it clear why she no longer wanted to play under Haraf, saying playing not to lose is never an option and describing the Austrians' approach as cowering in a corner. Former All-White Declan Edge saying the game here is being ruined by overseas coaches coming, who have little long-term investment in developing a Kiwi style.
I say it's time for us to drink our own poison. So let the Kiwis design the way we want to play, and if it doesn't succeed, it doesn't succeed, but at least we did it our way.
But for now, it's Haraf's vision that will guide the Ferns to the World Cup.
Our whole picture, our whole puzzle when we go to the first game at the World Cup will be finished, and then we will know how to win.
He's got exactly a year to make sure those pieces fit and make history with the first ever win at a Senior World Cup.
And Trukai Sports will continue with more after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To bodybuilding now, and Simbu Governor Michael Dua has congratulated 6 of his athletes, including Mr. PNG Steve Bomal and lone female contender Jay Cooper, for a job well done at this year's bodybuilding titles in Port Moresby. As host for next year's bodybuilding championship, Simbu has already started preparations.
Governor Michael Dua told the media that Simbu will host the 28 National Bodybuilding Championships. He says from what he saw, the recent event was pure success after all his athletes walked away with a medal each and 3 winning trophies, including the Mr. PNG title 2018, which was snatched by Steve Bomal.
We came, I think, from nowhere we did something. And that's where our interest is. Government me long Simbu. People, all youths, so that they must be actively engaged in some activities so that they cannot do silly things. They must be, time all sila kan couple activity. Tim belum travel in enough stuff. Now you look at Papa Niguni, I'll talk Payawarana, marijuana, na Kenya. We mean these are activities that will keep them busy. Me privileged long, even team bodybuilding team. All come just last week, I think. All having competition belong all winning plenty prizes na. All stop on the middle year.
Governor Dua says there is greater potential in his athletes, not just in bodybuilding but all other codes as well, and he will do everything he can to support the youths in the province. Current Mr. PNG Steve Bomal and former Mr. PNG Lucas Wemming and President of NCD Bodybuilding, who represented Chimbu in the 27th National Bodybuilding titles, says they will all work together with support from the provincial government to make the 28 National Bodybuilding Championships a success. They thanked the governor for his support towards the nationals and promised to build a code of bodybuilding in Chimbu by helping ambitious and upcoming bodybuilders in the province.
So, Mr. Representative Simbu now and Honorable Governor Michael Dua and Luke Sawe, also Niblo Chimpigni Chimbu now some M can come now witness him now M to Emba Karim la sport go back no Chimbu next year and Simlo Mr. PNG Mila and over Golo Michael Dua lo put him office.
I lost in my weight category, and then now I took from Steve Bomal, and so Steve Bomal he has to go to the final of post down, so he went to the final post down and he took the overall.
One time election Merol now team Simu will come long and Merol and election member me give him come back to you. Where you yet one son you give me so me I give him come back to you.
Governor Michael Dua says he has big plans for his province, one of which he says is investing in youths through sports.
This year all having lost NCD. Competition all having low NCD. But next year, I'm taking the game up to Simbu. So you will bodybuilder stuff like one of the you are ready na come to Simbu. Simbu people winner. You will come to Simbu na people carry title like big long. One of the Pavani you will carry go.
A date for next year's national bodybuilding titles will be announced later in the year. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
To some rugby league abroad, and the New Zealand Kiwis are moving in a new direction under coach Michael Maguire, who today farewelled 3 players from their setup. The 3 have announced their international retirement ahead of next weekend's test in Denver.
He's one of the greatest players this country has ever seen. Hard to believe at just 31, Simon Mannering, the man who never quits, has come to the end of the international road.
Yeah, not getting any younger, and we've got a really good bunch of kids coming through, and yeah, I don't think I can really match it with them these days in that arena.
And he's not the only one. Russell Packer wants out of the Kiwis at just 28. His Tigers teammate Ben Matalino is also done, despite last playing in 2015. One News understands the mental and physical toll of the busy playing calendar was a huge factor.
I spoke to all those boys and I wanted to find out where their headspace was at around international footy, and they've all got their different reasons why they decided to go the retirement path.
The new coach has spent his first month sounding out all eligible players. Jason Damalolo said he's sticking with Tonga. Benji Marshall and Jesse Bromwich were shoulder tapped for a recall before injury struck. But the conversations with the now former captain, Adam Blair, were by far the most interesting.
We're going to have a little bit of a different direction for this one. We're not going to have a captain. I think it's allowing everyone in the team to take ownership and accountability for where we're going.
And where they want to go is towards putting pride back into a jersey players will never want to let go.
Well, hopefully Michael and the group can sort of build that back up where guys are jumping out of their skin to get back in the Kiwis, because whenever I got selected in that jersey, it was the proudest moment for me and my family. So yeah, hopefully they can get back to that.
Getting key players cleared to travel the final hurdle before travelling halfway around the world to start a major Kiwis rebuild.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. We go for a break now. Up next, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
I'll look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, some showers expected in Popondetta, mostly fine for the rest of the region. Tumamase now fine, becoming cloudy for Lae, Wau and Vanimo. Some showers expected in Wewak, a shower or two for Madang. To the New Guinea Islands region, thundery showers expected in Lorengau and Kavieng. Some showers expected in Kokopo, Rabaul and Buka, and a shower or two as well for Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centres can expect some afternoon showers developing over the next 24 hours.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the way it is this Tuesday, the 12th of June 2018. On behalf of the EMTV News team, have a pleasant evening. Good night.